Demand for new electric vehicles is soaring in China, and to find out why and what trends we're likely to see in 2023, let's go to digital automotive journalist Javier Mota. Javier, thank you so much for joining us from Miami.
Thank you. I just came back from Vegas. I'm driving an electric car. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you're the right person to talk to then. So what does EV demand look like right now for Chinese consumers? And what are you seeing with the Chinese-made EVs and foreign-made EVs? Is there a preference for one over the other in China right now?
Well, as you know, China is, as they were saying in the previous segment, is the #1 market for all overall in the automotive industry. Unfortunately, here in the U.S., we don't get the Chinese brands. I've seen them in some trips that I've been around the world, and I think the work that they're doing is really impressive. As we saw, BYD already passed Tesla as the #1 seller in the world, and I think that trend is going to continue. And I hope that the Chinese manufacturers will come to the U.S. There's been a lot of talk in the past few years. I've seen them in different auto shows in Detroit, in New York, in LA. But they have not made the move. So I wish they will come sooner and to experience those cars, especially because since they focus on vehicles who are much less expensive than Tesla likes, or Mercedes or BMW or Audis, I think they will do really well here in the US.
Well, we will hear more about BYD, and you did mention that it has now overtaken Tesla as the world's largest EV maker, with plans to build in Europe. What really stands out to you about this brand, other than the price point that you mentioned? But talk to us about some of the features and what you like about BYD.
From the cars that I've seen, again, in auto shows, I have not experienced the driving yet, but what I've seen in other countries and in the auto shows is the technology. I think they're way ahead of some other companies here in the US. For example, if you compare to General Motors, which is one of the biggest in the world, GM is way behind of their development and on their delivery of new models. They're just talking about delivering cars at the end of next year. So what I've seen in this car from BYD, it's quality, it's a technology, and again, the price. I think the overall package is a very attractive proposition for people who are trying to get into the EV market.
Well, Tesla has a global recognition. Is Tesla's appeal starting to wane, or is there simply more choices now? Are we hearing about more in upcoming brands?
Absolutely. I think it's a little bit of both. I think when people start comparing to the new models, I have to say the Koreans also are doing a really good job. That's the car that I was driving in Vegas, the EV6 GT from a Kia, 576 horsepower, super fast car that beat Lamborghini and Ferrari models on a racetrack there, and some very exciting testing. So when people start to see other options, better pricing, more technology, more options, and in the case here in the US, where Tesla doesn't have really a network for service and maintaining the cars, that's also another factor. So again, when all the other manufacturers come into the game at full speed, GM in particular, I think it's the one that is going to even take more market share from Tesla, at least here in the US.
Well, what does the Chinese EV market look like in the months and the immediate years ahead? What are some of the other Chinese brands on your radar to watch?
Well, again, I'm not specialized in the Chinese market, but all of them are doing really well. And I think since the Chinese government has a lot of support for the development of the EV vehicles, I think in general, the Chinese market is going to keep growing locally, but also in Europe, in other areas, and I hope that they will come soon to the United States.
All right, Javier Mota, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.